We stunk the place up, you know. When you play the way that we played and the score is as lopsided as it is, that's just the reality of it as we work our way back to respectability. And we understand that it's going to require good days, good focused days, good decision making, good strategy, good play.
You know what? Someone once said, games like this are like bubble gum. You chew them for a little bit and you spit them out.
The way I look at it, I guess, is like losing teaches you something that winning never can. It's a lot of things I'm learning.
We've been picking it up this week, trying to dial in on what we need to correct.
The best team in the AFC, the Ravens, they got 3 losses. Everybody else is 4. We have 5. We're right in the thick of things if we can do our jobs and turn around and win football games.
Here we go. This pass is caught and that's a touchdown. That's the way to work. Come on. He's been sacked. The Steelers win the football game. Let's go. Come get it. You know what it is.
This one is in the history books.
Here we go.
Welcome to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show here on KDKA. As the Steelers get set for a big week, the Baltimore Ravens, the first of 2 meetings on the year. It'll be Sunday afternoon on KDKA, and it's a 4:25 kickoff. We have a lot coming up in the next 30 minutes. We're going to hear from Merrill Hodge and his playbook. We'll also talk about the Ravens. But first, let's bring in head coach Mike Tomlin to talk about what happened last week. And, Coach, I know that's a tough one to swallow. It's one of the most lopsided losses since you've been here. When you look back at it, explain what happened in that 41-10 game.
You know, we stunk the place up, like I said, after. And when you lose like that, that's always the case. You don't coach well, you don't play well. That's what produces performances like that. It's not something that we need to digest, to be quite honest with you. I don't know that you get over performances like that. I think you just move on from performances like that. And for us, it's about moving on and having good days of practice and getting back into a stadium and having an opportunity to get that stench off of us and that taste out of our mouth. That's what you say coming out of performances like that.
You had talked, in the week leading up to about the significance of the game. And from that point of view, I think many of us were surprised just how the game started and how the physicality of the game, went almost 100% into Cincinnati's direction. Of the things that concern you, was the physicality or lack thereof the biggest disappointment?
Sure. Whenever you're getting whooped in the line of scrimmage or in the front 7 component of play, it's worrisome. And they did a hell of a job on both sides of the ball in that phase of it. We did not, and that's why the game was the way it was.
We're also talking about the run game and how, you guys have given up a lot of yards. I realize there are a lot of injuries there, but you intimated after last week's game that there could be some changes. Were you specifically talking about schematic changes? I don't know how many personnel changes you can make because the injuries have taken a toll. What do you do in this game considering changes?
I think you consider both. I think you consider the collection of players and not only the players themselves, but what we ask players to do, how we move the chess pieces, the schematic component of it. What we won't do is continue to do what we've done and expect the outcome to change. When we're not getting it done, we got to look critically at the reasons why. And the 2 major components are the things that you do schematically and the personnel in which you do it with.
Robert Spillane won't be available after an injury last week. Devin Bush has had his problems. How do you attack the inside linebacker? You have guys who haven't played this year who may get an opportunity. Is that some of the personnel change you may have talked about last week?
We're open to the best collection of people, even the configuration of people. If we're weak at one spot and strong at another, maybe we'll play more of those people on the field. For example, a year ago when we were playing the Baltimore Ravens, we played the vast majority of the first contest with 3 outside linebackers on the field because that was the current strength of our makeup at that time. And so we had T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree and Alex Highsmith all playing significant roles in that game. I think that's kind of the mentality that I'm expressing when I talk about that. When you have red paint, you paint your barn red. We got to think outside the box. We got to lean on our strengths. We got to work to minimize our weaknesses. And so positions where we have depth at, we got to call on that depth.
You're in a situation, too, when you have late in the game, and this became a talking point. I'm just interested to hear how this works when you have starters in the game, knowing that the game is out of reach. What is the message you try to send with those starters staying in the game? Is it just a message of not giving up, but there is an injury risk that comes with that?
There's an injury risk every time you step into a stadium. We don't live in our fears in that regard. My contention with leaving those guys in the game is we hadn't played well, and I wanted to build. I wanted to walk out of that stadium having gotten something accomplished as we stepped into this week. And so I thought that was important. I thought we needed to continue to work to make plays, to put the ball in the playmakers' hands, to make necessary plays, to gain some of that rhythm that you desire regardless of circumstance.
All right, Coach, coming up, we're going to break down the Baltimore Ravens. Right now they sit atop the AFC North, and this is the challenge this week at Heinz Field. Baltimore Ravens up next. We'll talk about that, and a little later we have Merril Hoge and the Playbook. It's all coming up on the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show. Are you 84 Lumber material? Visit 84lumber.com/careers to learn more.
It's the next chapter in what has been the most intense rivalry in the NFL over the last 10-plus years.
It's a rivalry for the ages. Pittsburgh and Baltimore.
Pittsburgh against Baltimore. You don't have to say much more.
Two franchises that embody smash-mouth physical football.
No two teams know each other better.
It's about representing a city.
They're an old-school football team. What a rivalry this is. Can't wait to watch it.
A matchup that featured the best in the game.
This may be the best rivalry of the NFL, built by Hall of Famers.
Two teams that were made for the spotlight. And now it's time to shine. Steelers, Ravens, here we go!
Baltimore Ravens come to town. They're atop of the division, 8-3, although they've lived on a fine line pretty much all season long. They've had their share of injuries as well. But, Coach, I can't think of a better way to get the emotions flowing than having a visit from the Baltimore Ravens. Your expectations coming into this one on a Sunday afternoon at Heinz Field?
Well, it's Steelers Ravens, and we all know what that means, man. It's usually a hot, contested battle. We're excited about getting those guys. We're excited about getting them in Heinz Field for sure. We understand the gravity of this game, and we're excited about playing it.
You've had success against Lamar Jackson in the past, and you're going to have to look at that option again this week. He's a very talented guy, although I noticed last week against Cleveland he threw 4 interceptions. It's very rare to win a game when you do that, but none of them came with blitz pressure. He was in the pocket. What is the secret to stopping a guy like that with so much talent?
I don't know that there's a blueprint for stopping a guy like Lamar Jackson. I think you try to minimize components of his game at in certain times, in certain situations. And you got to take the calculated risks associated with the pursuit of victory. And so, his arm talent, his leg talent is well documented. He's capable of beating you in a variety of ways. And we just have to be selective about our approach and thoughtful about our approach. And hopefully we're right in terms of the forecast, in terms of which we decide to minimize in certain moments.
This is a team that likes to run the football, despite the fact they lost their top 3 running backs to season-ending injuries. The invitation probably is there for them to try to run it again. How do you minimize their run game, knowing that it is their strength?
We got to be real good in terms of reducing the amount of space that we all play in. And so the people that set our edges on our defense, regardless of who they are, defensive linemen, outside linebackers, secondary people, or whoever, they got to do a good job of reducing the amount of space that we play in. If we're playing in 53 1/3 wide of a field, man, it's going to be tough sledding. I think it starts there first and foremost. And then lastly, it's the tackling function. We got to hit and wrap. We got to get multiple people to the ball. In order to do that, you got to get off blocks. And so we got to play a physical brand of football.
Last week, their defense, which has been pretty good, and they have some young players, they limited the Cleveland ground game, which is pretty good, to 17 carries for 40 yards. They have Patrick Queen. They got some young up-and-coming guys. It looks like a defense that gets after it pretty good. From your offensive line point of view, do you plan any changes there, to deal with that defense?
Again, we're looking at the best collection of schematics and people, and so we're open to it. I think we have to be. They create a unique set of challenges on a lot of levels. Whether you're talking about some of their interior bigs, guys like Williams and Campbell, or the new collection of guys that they have playing on the edge, the young rookie out of Penn State, Houston, who they picked up in free agency. So it's a lot of new components for us to deal with, and so that bears some consideration. One thing's for certain, we're going to do what we're capable of doing. We're going to put ourselves in position to execute the things that we feel strongly about, those variables withstanding.
They lost Marcus Peters to a season-ending injury. Marlon Humphrey's been pretty good. When you look at their secondary, are there some options down there to try to attack that secondary, come up with some success down the field?
I think one of the things that's really interesting about him is Humphreys and his versatility, and the way that they highlight and utilize his versatility. Even within game, he's capable of playing outside. He's capable of playing nickel. He's a capable blitzer. He does a lot for them, and his versatility is an asset and makes them somewhat of a tough nut to crack. But if you got a guy like him as versatile, it's usually because someone else is versatile as well. And I can't say enough about Young. Young has missed some time over the last several years due to a variety of injuries, but his versatility is a significant component that allows Humphreys to be versatile as well.
I always seem to bring up kicking games, but this week you probably have two of the best kickers in the league going at it. Temperature is going to be cold. It's December. That's an interesting matchup there. And Tucker's been really good, but Boswell's been really good too. And these games typically come down to a kick, it seems.
Yeah, if it does, I hope it comes down to our guy, because when you're talking about those two guys, usually you're talking about them making the necessary kicks. And, I know we have a great deal of comfort in what Boz is capable of delivering, and I'm sure Baltimore feels the same way.
You've dealt with John Harbaugh a lot over the years. Your record against him is good. Do you like those coaching matchups, and what do you learn about each other when it comes into game planning? There's a lot of chess match stuff going on, it seems.
I don't know that I focus on him specifically in the matchups or within preparation for the matchups. We all got roles, and I'm sure he probably doesn't focus on me specifically as well. There's offense and defensive primary play callers, there's special teams coordinators, and then probably more importantly than all of that is the 11 or so games that we both have on tape that kind of display personality and tendencies and highlight the skill set of players. I think that occupies our attention more than anything else. I got a lot of respect for John. We've shared a lot of space over the years. I love competing against him and his teams, but in terms of my focus, particularly from a decision-making or preparation standpoint, it's usually on a myriad of things.
All right, Coach, and if you're wondering why this game is so significant, well, really they all are, Baltimore, Pittsburgh over the years, but this one, especially because the Steelers right now are looking up at teams, and they'd like to change that. The way you do it is win the head-to-head matchups. Currently, Baltimore is on top of this division, 8-3, despite their many injuries. They have overcome the adversity to be in this position. They're 1-1 in their division. The Bengals have won both against the Steelers. They're 3-1 in the division, now in second place at 7-4. Browns are having their issues coming off that loss to Baltimore. The Steelers would like to jump ahead of them, and they can do so with a win against the Ravens. We have the keys of the game coming up with head coach Mike Tomlin. Also, next up, it's Merrill and his playbook right here on the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
They believe they've got a perfect fit at the running back position.
Hodge gets the call. Busted right.
Najee Harris, big time move. Harris with a stiff arm.
Pulled in by Najee, gets out of a tackle. 10-5, touchdown. Najee Harris. Wow, did he make a great play. Over the top, did he make it? Touchdown.
There's a handoff and the Red Sea parts, and here comes Najee. Not easy to bring down.
Harris up top. Touchdown Pittsburgh.
Touchdown Pittsburgh. Najee Harris through the hole comes Najee. End zone. Touchdown. He leaps across the goal line.
Dives for the touchdown.
Welcome back to the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin Show.
One of the keys of this game obviously would be how the Steelers respond to the Ravens' run game. As I mentioned, they're missing some components here, including J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill. but they've not gone away from their identity, which is running the football. And in tonight's playbook, Merril Hoge takes a look at what the Steelers have to do to stop it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome into the Factor Back Studios for the Steelers Playbook. One thing I learned a long time ago, when you focus on stuff, you dwell in stuff, you stay in stuff. So we're going to move on to the Ravens. Another thing, when a professional has been embarrassed, especially 2 weeks in a row, never underestimate a professional and how they will respond. It'll be pivotal that the Steelers respond this week against the Ravens in the most pivotal aspect of this matchup, which is the Raven running attack. Now, in the last couple of years, the Steelers have really done a pretty good job of attacking their personnel when they have different personnel on the field and their read option. We're going to take a look at two of the ways they went about attacking it. And you can do this scheme-wise regardless of the personnel. So in this one's the read option. So in the read option, the one thing that you've got to realize, this quarterback, their most dynamic runner, is going to stand there. He's not going anywhere. Well, anytime you get him at neutral, you must attack it, which is exactly what the Steelers do here with Watt, or whoever this outside linebacker is going to be. When his feet are stationary, best time to attack him. It is exactly what the Steelers do, and very few teams actually do that. So watch this in motion. Just as he gets to the read, okay? He's going nowhere. Why would you ever have a guy unblocked just stand right here, which a lot of teams do? Well, the Steelers did not. They attack it. You now force him to give the ball, and now, yes, you have to win inside, which they clearly did. You neutralize that read option when you attack the quarterback. Great job of doing that. Now, they use personnel on the field a lot. They run a power O or counters from a lot of different looks. But this is what you would call a heavy, intimidating, massive formation package. These three guys, this guy, I don't even know what you call him. He's a defensive lineman / tight end. He's 300 pounds. Two tight ends, you only have one wide receiver at the top of the screen. Then you have your back here. Well, what the Steelers do is they actually match up. One linebacker, two linebackers, 3 and 4, and a fifth because of the personnel they have here. And then they go about attacking it and winning at the line of scrimmage. So they match up to the three tight ends, and then they attack it. Just a beautiful job downhill. The safety is in position for outside here. You're here, and you're controlling the line of scrimmage. And again, your quarterback is sitting there in a read position. Nothing is happening as far as advancing if he keeps the ball, which he does. Well, once you've done that, because you've established the line of scrimmage, you can contain and attack. They did that in a beautiful fashion over the last couple of years. So they've come up with different schemes. They're going to come up with different ones in this matchup. It'll be pivotal, though, that they execute it properly, because if they can control the running game, which is the most important part in this matchup, they have a great chance of winning. If they do not control this running game, it'll be much harder to beat the Ravens.
All right, Merril, thanks very much for that. Always good stuff, and you can check out more of Merril's good work in the playbook on the Steelers YouTube channel. Right now it's time for the keys of this game, presented to you by your neighborhood Ford store. All right, Coach, a lot of keys in this one, obviously. Let's start with the offense, what your offense has to do against a very good and young Baltimore defense.
You know, we've been trending in the right direction in terms of moving the ball and scoring, provided we take care of the football. We didn't do a good enough job of that a week ago. I think we turned the ball over 3 times. So for us, it's about ball security first and foremost. We're playing a defense that really covets ball searching, led by Marlon Humphreys, who's one of the best in the business in terms of displaying ball awareness, but all of their guys do. For us, that's one of the fundamental components, and I know I say it often, but you can't stress it enough when going into an environment like this. The turnover element of play when we play Baltimore is and has always been significant. You take last year's 2 games, for instance. In both games, we had pick sixes, and we needed them. And so not only maintaining possession of the ball on offense, but getting the ball on defense and potentially scoring or putting ourselves in position to score is a component of this game that's always defined this matchup.
This matchup is always based on physicality. Can we expect a lot of Najee Harris and an offensive line surge in this game?
You can expect a lot of the above, physicality for sure, featured runners, big men play, offense and defensive line. I think that's just a signature of Steelers Ravens.
All right, what about their offense? It all starts with Lamar Jackson. Boy, he's been like a Houdini at some points of this season. They had a lot of come-from-behind wins. The one in Baltimore against the Colts was 19-point deficit. They won a game they probably should have lost in Detroit because of a 66-yard field goal. What do you start in planning to stop that Ravens offense, which has been good and is multidimensional?
You know, I laugh when I hear probably should have lost because, you know, that's what good teams do. That's what guys like Lamar Jackson does. They smile in the face of adversity. They rise up and they make critical plays. But we also love competing against him and guys like him in them circumstances because I believe we have a group of guys that are wired in a similar way. And so I'm excited about the competition. I respect the challenge, but excited about watching our guys respond to a performance that was subpar and get back to playing the type of ball that we all desire to play.
A couple of weeks ago, you had that big Miles Killebrew block punt, which really led to a comeback of monumental proportions until it ended the wrong way. But special teams in a game like this, I would imagine too. It's going to be close. You would imagine big plays in special teams will turn things around.
It'll be significant, but it's been said, the specialists really lead the charge. Guys like Boz and Tucker really have impacts on the game. And so we're excited about that phase as well. But knowing that they have strengths in that phase of the game as well, it's going to be particularly challenging.
All right, Coach, thanks very much, and all the best this Sunday.
You know it.
All right. Thanks to head coach Mike Tomlin. And tomorrow it is the Baltimore Ravens at Heinz Field. Our pregame coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. The game's at 4:25 p.m. And then afterwards we have postgame on Pittsburgh CW. That's going to wrap it up for our program today. Thanks so much for joining us. Get ready for a big weekend of Steelers football here on KDKA and all the Steeler digital platforms. I'm Bob Pompeani for everyone here and head coach Mike Tomlin. Have a good week, and we'll see you tomorrow on game day.